As a manga reader, when I tell you all that this episode was the absolute embodiment of perfection, I mean that in every great way. From art, animation, direction, and OST choice, this week's episode really showed that Toei is taking the content adaptation above and beyond for World Trigger, and really makes me excited for round 8. I was really looking forward to everything action related in this episode, from Tamakoma vs Suzunari and Chika's meteor nuke, so to speak, and my expectations were blown out of the water, especially with the climax of the episode. But before I get into that, let's take a stroll back to the beginning. Now before I get started, if you enjoy World Trigger content, then make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave all your thoughts and comments about the episode down below in the comments section. Now kicking off from where we left off last week, as I mentioned, points are awarded on damage amounts as well, and in the case of Kage bailing out, it seems that Ko's lethal blow from the earlier fight was the most valuable. The squads are well aware that Tamakoma 2 needs points, and not letting them secure them is a much bigger victory than them winning the match itself. A bit of a hassle, but it's only going to push Tamakoma to work harder if they want to secure these points. I really gotta say though, it definitely feels bad for Kage. You just know he's seething from being taken out of the fight so early. Hopefully some changes for the squad will follow as well. Now no times for break, as the matchup quickly heads into our neighbor duo versus the Suzunari duo in a firefight that really gets dicey. The new combo from Suzunari continues to prove useful, but the duo doesn't just wait for their shields to break and get some counters going. Heiyusei using Iscudo for cover, a definite way to counter the Hound and Asteroid blows, but not enough for Ko using Kogetsu Whirlwind. Keeping them at mid-range distance was definitely in their best interest, especially for Kuruma being a gunner. If they get in close, not even Ko will be able to defend himself and protect his captain. Clear to our attackers that it's time to get creative. Kuga spearheading that close engagement with a feint by Heiyusei using his Iscudo on the ground, only for him to essentially get into a position for him to be boosted forward by Grasshopper. A perfect way to close the distance gap and to stop the spray and pray from Kuruma. Now the next part is certainly the most creative thing we have ever seen in the World Trigger series yet. So we know that Kuruma and Ko want to keep close in order for the Iscudos to not separate anybody, but for Heiyusei, he has other plans. The man makes an Iscudo appear out of Ko's back and hits Kuruma, which gives the perfect timing for Mikumo to make a quick pincer attack from the back as well. When I tell you that this probably surprised so many anime onlys, because we didn't even know that something could be spun out from another person, but it makes sense because as long as the environment is essentially border Trion accessible, then it's fair summoning, and Trion bodies would technically count as well, and I'm not even sure a lot of the agents themselves even knew that was even possible. The creative ways Ashihara writes these moments are so fun, because I doubt that this will be the last time we see this in the series, and it can inspire future agents to use this tactic as well. Ko does get to fend off Mikumo from finishing the blow on Kuruma, and the 2v2 turns into a quick 2v1 for the attackers, and things get real spicy for the episode from this point on. So keep in mind that Ko still has the Iscudo piece in his back, hindering some mobility, and the encounter begins between the two attackers. Ko manages to pull off this amazing Kogetsu Whirlwind that starts from the back, and from there takes off Kuga's arm and then comes full swing towards Heiyusei to the front. Now can we just take a moment here to appreciate the art? Like the details showing Kuga's face when he was cut was so phenomenal, and I just had to pause for a second and admire the leaps and bounds that World Trigger has come. The anime without a doubt is aging like fine wine, and again, huge props for the love being put into the series after so much time has passed from season 1. It is truly remarkable to see just how far the show has progressed in terms of quality over the years. Now with Kuga losing an arm, the only thing he can do is land that life or death kick off the Iscudo that's still on Ko's back, throwing him off balance and allowing Heiyusei to land his attack. Ko bailing out, and at that point, Suzunari is pretty much finished. Who truly finishes them off, however, was Yuzuru, landing 2 shots through the ceiling, taking out Kuruma and hitting Mikumo in the leg, giving him a lethal blow leakage as well for his Trion. Yet again, the snipers using whatever distance and information they can to their advantage, but unlike Amatori, Yuzuru isn't so lucky to be in a safe position as the Azuma squad attackers close in on him. Naturally, he runs, but it's nothing more than a diversion for the real threat of Azuma lying in the back, hitting that critical insta-kill, Yuzuru bailing out, and thus the match comes down to Tamakoma 2 versus Azuma squad. Honestly though, Yuzuru still deserves some major respect for his efforts. The man was not only on an anti-sniper map, but he managed to secure 2 points before he bailed out while being surrounded by all sorts of attackers. Not an easy feat, but one truly someone of Yuzuru's caliber could pull off. Mikumo does end up bailing out too due to his Trion leakage going on, truly doing all that he could. Keeping the Azuma squad attackers away from the fight upstairs was definitely helpful in this fight, and his last assistance with Kuruma also came in clutch too. With Mikumo bailing out, the 3-on-3 finally arrives. Now at one point last episode, we saw Azuma holding this circular device, foreshadowing that something was afoot. We knew that he was inside the mall, utilizing the chaos to his advantage to deploy his own strategy. Now what could be more annoying than your radar being disabled? Well, how about your radar full of enemy signatures with no telling who's the right one? The dummy beacon strat is the perfect diversion for not only the attackers to move within, but for Azuma as well. Notably, Hiyuse recognizing the strat from the logs seems like he was doing his homework as well. The solution comes to be one of World Trigger's best showcase of how things can look, with Chika's meteor explosion that took out not just the mall, but getting Codera to bail out as well. I think I speak for everyone when I say that this was the pinnacle of the episode. To see such a tiny person carry around that much destructive power even surprised the announcers, making them think that she could even shoot now. The animation, OSTs, and impact frame upon the explosion, all really excellent and had me jumping for joy. This scene was one of the few moments in the series that I was looking forward to seeing on the screen someday, and I was certainly not disappointed with anything. We do see Chica a bit gloomed out with knocking Codera out, going back to what Toma said about her in the earlier episodes. Chica is part of the camp of people that won't shoot, but her reasoning is still unknown. The moment we get to that story, surely we'll have people wanting to protect Chica at all costs, but we still got a little bit of time. I think the funniest part of it all was just watching Codera attempt to run for his life, only to be swept up anyway. I'm surprised they didn't use Grasshopper to leap forward, but if I saw a giant meteor come my way, I too would forget about every logical option and run for the hills. Certainly feels bad, but another smooth point for Tamakoma 2. The episode wraps up with round 7 entering the final stages, Codera making the call for Azuma squad and Tamakoma 2 setting up to make their next move. Without a doubt, the battle will be wrapping up in next week's episode, so let's make sure to enjoy this to the very end because round 8 is very near. Now there's something I want to mention in this episode regarding Hiyuse. In the exchange between Suzunari, Hiyuse did not use Viper bullets for an underlying reason. This reason does have to deal with round 8, and when we get to our next set of opponents, I think it will all make more sense when we get to it. Just keep in mind, trust in Hiyuse even if it's against Mikumo's orders. Overall, an absolute masterpiece of an episode, reflecting another solid adaptation with the content and one explosive finale from the best girl herself. The episode ends right at the end of chapter 173, and with that, it's going to bring me to the end of this week's review episode. Feel free to let me know your thoughts and comments about the episode down below. And as always, thank you guys for watching, stay safe and warm out there, and I will catch you guys in next week's episode.